recorded performance. So I can sit here and I can play Pachelbel's Canon in D without having to pay any licensing fees, because Pachelbel died in 1706 and his work is now in the public domain, in the pool of works where the copyright has expired. His music is now free for anyone to use without payment and without credit, which is brilliant. But if I'm not playing it, I'm actually using recording of it, then it doesn't matter that the composition is in the public domain. Someone who's out of their own hard work playing it, along with the work of the production team making it sound good, and that recording is under a separate copyright that needs licensing. Songwriter after songwriter after songwriter has used Pachelbel. It's now a cliche, and no one's had to pay Pachelbel or his family a penny for centuries, but that doesn't mean any of the modern songs based on it are in the public domain. There is new work there, and I can't use those modern songs in this video to demonstrate that unless I'm actually criticising it. On that point, Maroon 5's Memories is an infuriating composition that uses the start of the melody of Canon in D but never resolves it, which means that it has the same stuck-in-your-head effect as the jingle from Alfred Bester's The Demolished Man, and I hate it. Coolio's See You When You Get the lead single from a third album that obviously did far better with a naive world audience than it ever did with its actual target market. There's a reason it went platinum in New Zealand. And The Farms Altogether Now is actually a pretty good song, despite the incongruity between its subject matter and its style, but it's been completely destroyed by repetitive and unnecessary criticism and review. There we go. That is the sort of thing that's considered fair use under US law and fair dealing under the much more strict UK law. But I had to censor the album art of those songs because I wasn't criticising and reviewing the art, and the art is covered under separate copyright. In 2009, Andy Bio, then one of the directors of Kickstarter, released an 8-bit chiptune version of the best-selling jazz album of all time, Miles Davis' Kind of Blue. He got a license from the music publisher, he called it Kind of Bloop. It was but he said $30,000 to Jay Maisel, the photographer who took the iconic photograph of the original album cover. Kind of Bloop's album art was a pixelated version of that album cover. Bio thought it was fair use, Maisel said it wasn't. Maisel had lawyers. To quote Bio, the fact that I settled is not an admission. This is the least expensive option. Because copyright lawyers and copyright lawsuits are very, very expensive. Expensive enough that that isn't the album cover. That is a stock photo that looks kind of like the album cover because I am taking no risks. I don't know if that pixel art was fair because I am taking no risks. I don't know if that pixel art was fair use. If someone took your greatest work, ran it through a pixelation filter and then sold it, I don't think it's entirely unreasonable. I think it's been ripped off. The line of fair use is very close, strong and conflicting. That's the job of the That is a whole separate problem. There is something called a compulsory license for selling and performing. To go with someone else's song, even if it's just a video of you performing it on a ukulele in your bedroom. Copyright holder has the absolute right to say no to it. YouTube has always had a lot of people uploading cover songs, singing and performing the music that they love, and hoping they'll get noticed by talent scouts, not by lawyers. A lot of modern pop singers got their start on YouTube, but the legal baseline for doing that outside the YouTube bubble, if you just filmed yourself and put it up somewhere else online, well, the baseline is that you have to pay for an expensive license or you get sued and you lose. Or more likely, you get a cease and desist letter and pay a bit of money to make the lawyers go away and you drop out of the music industry disillusioned. And you can't get away with it by changing the lyrics. It's not fair use unless it's directly. Weird Al Yankovic, the most popular parody artist in history, licenses the songs that he parodies. There are lots of lengthy law journal articles asking whether he needs to, but better safe than sorry. And yeah, I wouldn't fancy his chances if he actually went to court. The worst case scenario of doing an unlicensed song parody on YouTube is that you get sued and you lose. Because under current copyright law, you are in the wrong. I'm not saying that's how it should be. I'm saying that's how it is. I won't have the money to even start to defend a case. Content ID, we'll get that later. And if you're not actually using the original piece, if you're just reminding the viewer of it, just getting close enough in your parody, then you're probably in the clear. YouTube creators who change just the lyrics of songs you parody often say, oh, but it's fair use. It's for criticism. They can't claim copyright over it. They're making a false claim. Look, if you're taking a Katy Perry song and changing the words to be about something other than the same way the big movie companies change what the result in movies without paying and say, and it may seem that the law of kids on YouTube are messing around to more or less the same legal standard as Hollywood studios. In public opinion, there is definitely a big difference there. People smile at small creators taking content from big companies well outside their use, but never the other way. And that's the reason that some small-time reaction YouTuber can take a 5-second clip from a movie and use it for a cheap punchline, even if it's not. Threatening court action and demanding payment. And legally, they are in the right. They're using money. And in some cases, they are threatening someone who has absolutely no copyright and genuinely that stuff on the web is free to take. There are lots of threads online with people going, what's happening? I didn't know. How do I make this work? Photography isn't art. It's an expensive one. And yeah, until we live in magical post-certain Star Trek space communism, you shouldn't just be able to rip off a photographer's copyrighted work and use it. Except a lot. Hey, I used to do it. It's gone from the internet now for obvious reasons, but when I was younger, I unashamedly took images and other stuff from the web and repurposed it because I knew hardly anyone would see it, even fewer people would care, and the worst case scenario was that I'd get a cease and desist letter. And if that happened, I might find censorship and get some publicity. I've grown up since then. There are a whole new wave of kids who have that same philosophy. No copyright infringement intended. They'll say, I own nothing, all rights to the copyright owner. Or, this is transformative under fair use, as if only that is some magic incantation that will ward off lawyers like waving across at vampires.
I want to sue you now.
Copyright infringement intended! No copyright infringement intended!
Posed for some stock photography a few years ago. He doesn't have rights to take or image in any of these photos and sign those away as part of the photography contract. And while there is a discussion to be had about personality rights and the ethics of taking some random person's face and using it, that's not relevant here. What is relevant is the copyright on that photo. If you're criticizing or commenting on the photo itself, if you're judging the composition of the camera work, or, yes, the incredibly awkward expression that meant he gained the nickname Hide the Pain Harold and became one of the most recognized figures in the internet, then yes, that may well be acceptable. But if you're just using those pictures as a stock image to make a point about anything else, then you better have a license, or you're exposing yourself to a lot of legal liability. When big publications talk about the distracted boyfriend picture, they license it. There is no exception under law for, I put some all those photos from a company called Shutterstock. Here's the license agreement. I got a bundle deal of image credits from them that was cheaper, and I had some of those credits left over. So please now enjoy a few inexplicable stock photos that I also now have the legal right to use. Anyway, the photographer who took that original distracted boyfriend picture asked how he felt about his work being everywhere without permission. And he said, they're just a group of people doing this in good faith. We are not going to take any action except for the extreme cases where this good faith exists. That is an act of generosity on his part. He would be entirely inclined to hire a service like Pixie, let them play the bad guys and bring in a lot of money. And if you think that's wrong, then talk to a professional photographer, ask them how they earn their living and how much their equipment costs and how they feel about it. Now, as I record this, YouTube doesn't have automated systems hunting through YouTube videos to find unlicensed images and send out legal threats, but they could. Pretty easy. Maybe those claims could be defended in court with enough money, but in the current system, most people will fold, pay a license fee and give up. And viral video licensing companies like YouTube Media do already search through YouTube for unlicensed use of the video clips they own. And while as a company they are vilified by the creative community, creators have the right to determine how their work is being used, and taking someone else's copyrighted photos or videos and using them commercially, without permission, without criticism, is not fair use. Even if lots of other people have already used them, even if you had some words on top of them, even if you mash them up with 3 other things, are you 100% sure that you are transforming or criticizing the original, not just using it? And if you're 100% sure that a court would agree. Just to repeat, I'm not saying this is how it should be, I'm saying this is but 2019, GIF, a GIF aggregation site, briefly removed it. Actually, hold on, people will complain. I'm pronouncing it GIF because GIF, the site we're talking about pronounces it GIF. And besides, the real problem is short video files know the format. Specific descriptor for a data format. Short eaten videos are not GIF, but apparently now they are. It's like how emoji now refers to any small image. I'm still grumpy about all of this, don't at me. Anyway, at the end of 2019, Giphy removed its many, many GIFs of the child from The Mandalorian. The creature design is so adorable, I can only assume the design came directly from Disney's merchandise. Those GIFs were removed, described as confusion. I guess they got a legal letter from someone at Disney before Disney realised what the Guardian's effort would be to stop the internet having immediate access to Baby Yoda. The Guardian article about that brief takedown has a really interesting final line. Images in GIFs are widely understood to fall under the fair use exception. Notice how that's phrased. Widely understood. There has never been a court case about this. Are GIFs fair use? I actually think that some company got a bee in their bonnet, the same way they did about Napster 20 years ago. And if they insist on litigating all the way to court, it's entirely possible that a judge would go, no. GIFs aren't a parody, they're not criticism, they're not transformative, they're not fair use. GIF is an entire product for gifting, copyright infringement. Pay the money, shut it down. In practice, of course, it wouldn't get that far. Giphy would accept a cease and desist and take down what was complained about. It's just easier because remember, an individual creator or a small site, Giphy has an enormous office in New York with catered lunches and arcade games for more than 100 employees, based on a business model that is arguably for that. In the same way, uploading video games to YouTube is widely understood to be okay, but that's questionable. Maybe if it's something like Minecraft, where there's a lot, it could be. Besides, the licensing is like most YouTube videos. But if it's just a video of cutscenes following roughly the same sequence of events that every player would follow, that's a bit like putting up a video of you watching TV. We've seen companies decide in the past that actually it is that online streaming of games affects sales. And the impact on sales is a key component in determining whether something is fair use. Sure, the game gets some exposure, but exposure doesn't pay the rent. I didn't buy Untitled Goose Game and experience the beautiful artwork and immaculately timed comic set pieces myself. I skipped through a couple of videos so I could get the jokes, and then I moved on. I didn't buy Superliminal either. I just watched a video of someone playing. Skip forward to see how it ends, and then I got on with my life, and I'm glad I did. The game mechanics are clever, but that's satisfying. Or maybe I just think that because that's someone else who provided a substitute for the original product, made money off that, either from advertising or streaming donations. Now, video game streaming might be fair use if you've got someone constantly criticising and reviewing the work as they play it. Not just talking about it, or not just repeating what they're saying in their game, or saying hi to the chat, like actively criticising. Maybe. It would be up to a judge to decide. No one wants any case like that to get to court because somehow we have an entire industry based around something that's very popular, like infringement, but which most video game publishers are just going along with. Perhaps because they genuinely think it's a good thing, or perhaps because they've seen the backlash that happens when horrible gaming films suddenly deny something they think are threatening.
Hey, this is transformative. This is definitely fair use.
Would you do this to a Marvel movie?
Hey, they'd sue me for every penny I've got.
In the not too distant future, then someday
In 1988, KTMA TV in Minneapolis aired the first episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000, which was basically a reaction channel. Along with the cast of puppet robots would watch a full-length movie using an old science fiction piece. They'd be in silhouette as if they were in the row of cinema seats in front of you, constantly cracking jokes about whatever was on the screen. It's tightly written, scripted with joke after joke after joke, although the skits that surround the movie are often so laden with in-jokes and character shtick that new viewers who don't know the show and the cast can be completely lost. Like I said, it's basically a reaction channel. Time magazine listed Mystery Science Theater as one of the 100 greatest TV shows of all time. A Kickstarter brought it back in 2016, and then Netflix brought it back for another couple of seasons. Mystery Science Theater was absolutely criticism and review and absolutely transformative, but they still licensed the movies. Anything that wasn't in the public domain, they negotiated and paid for because, yeah, playing out someone else's entire movie just with wisecracks over it, probably not fair use. And even if it was, the studio would have probably sued at some point anyway, and they'd have had to defend the case and spend the money to defend the case. Now, there have been YouTube commentary channels who have defended lawsuits where fair use and fair dealing seem clear. HBH, an often controversial reaction commentary channel, won a very expensive lawsuit brought by someone they criticised. They were very happy about the result, and they shared that with their fans in a way that pretty much sums up why their style isn't for everyone. The court even noted that the video was transformative because it responds to and transforms the video from a skit to a product of caustic, moment-by-moment commentary and mockery. The judge's decision goes into fair use in depth, but the most important bit is a little bit further down. Some reaction videos intersperse short segments of another's work with criticism and commentary, while others are more akin to a group viewing session without commentary. Accordingly, the court is not ruling here that all reaction videos constitute fair use. That just playing a video and laughing at it isn't fair use. It's the border of fair use is somewhere in the grey area between lazy zero-effort reaction streamers and in-depth, insightful criticism. But it's a fuzzy border, and right now questions about it can only be settled on